This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
The Lebanese opposition called on all Lebanese to participate in an open-ended sit-in that will be held in the center of the capital Friday afternoon. The Secretary General of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, confirmed that the event will be peaceful and that it aims to find a legal and constitutional text that guarantees the formation of a national unity government.
All the doors have been closed, so the opposition sounded the sirens of a public action. The announcement was made, as was promised, 24 hours before the actual time of the sit-in. The location where the sit-in is supposed to take place is nothing new. It is the capital, which has witnessed all the previous demonstrations. It is also the closest site to the government, which the demonstrators aim to dissolve. The first sign of the sit-in first appeared when a unanimous announcement was made by the Lebanese opposition. Soon after that, opposition leaders, especially the Secretary General of Hezbollah, announced that the country should not be governed by one group and that their sit-in, which will be peaceful, will continue until they achieve their demands.
A national unity government must be formed. To achieve this goal, we are calling on everyone. You, the Lebanese, are all being called upon from different areas, fronts, political affiliations, ideologies, and religions to be a part of a peaceful public sit-in.
By specifying the details of the sit-in, the opposition showed that it was not exaggerating about going to the streets. The authorities are anticipating what path the sit-in will take. From their point of view, a peaceful demonstration would be welcome, but it cannot dissolve a government that enjoys parliamentary majority.
We will not accept threats and warnings. Thus, welcome to the streets. The Lebanese streets are for all Lebanese. We will not reverse or give up in the face of public pressure.
While the opposition specified its objectives on the eve of the announcement of the sit-in, the Christian representatives, most of whom were part of the parliamentary majority, followed their Christian leaders, who announced that they are being sincere when they say that they are not taking sides with one Christian group over another. They said that their objective is to prevent strife among Christians. All these events unfolded within the past 15 minutes. Now, the Lebanese streets will determine who will prevail. All eyes are looking towards this square in the coming hours. The opposition believes that this square will empower its political position, while the Lebanese government does not believe that it is a legitimate place where the government can be dissolved. Each side is brandishing their different weapons, but which weapon will prove to be more effective? This is the question for the next phase. Fatma Awad, Al-Alam, Beirut.
With the time and venue set, all political players are in place. MP Michel Aoun called on his supporters to take the streets in order to reach the opposition's goal of a national unity government, as the majority is confident that this latest escalation will not lead to its breakup. The army, for its part, has received its orders on how to handle the sit-in. For the details, follow this report.
Hezbollah and its allies called for a peaceful protest and sit-in in downtown Beirut tomorrow. They demand a new government. A statement by the group said today that the national Lebanese opposition calls the Lebanese to a peaceful gathering and open-ended sit-in in central Beirut on Friday at 3 p.m. to demand the formation of a national unity government. The follow-up committee of the March 14 alliance warned of a coup d'etat that was prepared by the Syrian regime against Lebanese legitimacy. It added that defending legitimacy and independence today would be represented by completing the establishment of the International Tribunal and the continuation of Premier Fuad Sanira's legitimate government to pursue its constitutional duties on implementing Resolution 1701. The March 14 alliance called on the Lebanese to keep on high alert to face the coup. On the opposition side, head of the Free Patriotic Movement, MP Aoun, earlier called on his supporters to take to the streets to demand the formation of what the opposition is calling a new national unity government. Aoun told reporters that the other camp were obliging them to do so, adding that their action would be peaceful. Amid the tensions, Lebanese Army Chief General Michel called on the army to stand ready to maintain public order in case of mass demonstrations in Beirut. Referring to the rift between the pro-government and opposition camps, Sleiman said that the army will not tolerate any damage to public property or any clashes, as the army stands at an equal distance from both sides. The army chief stressed that in contrast to the situation on the eve of the outbreak of the civil war in 1975, where the army was neutralized by political divisions, today it stands united and enjoys the trust of the people. For his part, Interior Minister Hassan Saba issued a statement reminding anyone wishing to stage street protests that they were obliged to inform the Interior Ministry 3 days in advance with the time and place of the demonstration and also its purpose. He added that if this was not done, such parties would be held responsible for any public disorder.
Washington expressed its support once again for Siniora's government. The support was represented through the visit of 2 U.S. congressmen to the Grand Surai. During a meeting with Siniora, Darrell Issa and Pete Hoekstra, accompanied by U.S. Ambassador Jeffrey Feltman, stressed on their country's support for a democratic Lebanon. The American officials also held meetings with Mayor Nine Pechak, Cardinal Nasrallah Boutros Fair, Defense Minister Elias Elmore, and MP Walid Jumblat.
In Jericho, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas said he wanted a national unity government that will bring an end to the siege of the Palestinian people. Abbas added in his meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice that the negotiations to form a national unity government have reached a dead end. For her part, Rice expressed hope that the current temporary truce between the Palestinians and the Israelis will turn into a comprehensive ceasefire.
In Jericho, the American Secretary of State met with both the Palestinians and the Israelis. Her first meeting was with President Mahmoud Abbas, who plans to continue the peace process both in Gaza and the West Bank. These hopes were expressed by the American Secretary of State, but without guarantees or strategies for implementation. Rice stressed the importance of providing humanitarian aid to the Palestinians. But moving forward in her view is dependent on the establishment of a government that will gain the acceptance of the international community.
Because there is not a government.
Because there is not a government with which the international community can deal, it is very difficult to do more on the humanitarian side. We believe it is important for the government to be accepted by the international community.
But the efforts to form this government have once again been hindered. According to the Palestinian president, they have reached a dead end.
I want to see people who are capable, respected, and have expertise, regardless of their names, to fill the ranks of this government. People who respect Palestinian, Arab, and international legitimacy. Then we will demand that the world ends their siege of our people.
This announcement opens the door for more options to President Abbas, but he has yet to reveal any details.
The Palestinian Authority should study the situation carefully. There are options on all levels, and there is no doubt that the Palestinian people's interests and ending the siege are the top priority. Now is the time to make a decision, but only after the situation has been studied carefully.
Other issues like prisoners, settlements, and checkpoints were discussed with the American Secretary of State without giving details regarding their outcome. It's no more than a routine visit, and the expectations are not different from those after previous visits by the American Secretary of State. Support with words, but with little action that is not expected to help the peace process. Shireen Abu Akleh, Al Jazeera, Jericho.
شيرين أبو عقلة الجزيرة أريحة.
من ناحيته قال رئيس الوزراء الفلسطيني إسماعيل هنية أنه
For his part, Prime Minister Ismail Haniyeh said that he hopes the efforts to form a national unity government do not reach a dead end. Haniyeh said in statements during a visit to Doha, his second stop on his Arab tour, that the efforts depend on continuing dialogue despite the difficulties that emerged in the last round of negotiations.
آمل إن شاء الله إنه إحنا ما نصل إلى طريق مسدود ويجب.
I hope, God willing, we will not reach a dead end, and there shouldn't be any talk of that.
بهذا الشكل أو إنه هناك في قضايا مغلقة وملفات أغلقت. القضية الفلسطينية والشعب الفلسطيني بحاجة إلى وحدة.
The Palestinian people are in need of national unity and a government that will continue to protect Palestinian rights and principles.
في المحافظة على الحقوق والثوابت الفلسطينية.
Good evening. A day of intense diplomatic activity in the region. U.S. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice met privately earlier this afternoon with Prime Minister Ehud Olmert in Jerusalem and then went on to hold private talks with Foreign Minister Tzipi Livni. Following her meeting with Olmert, Rice said she greatly appreciates the Israeli government's agreement to a truce with the Palestinians, as well as Israel's restraint. She added that Olmert's conciliatory speech earlier this week was a very positive sign. The speech, she said, sent a message to moderate Palestinian elements that a diplomatic solution is on the horizon. This morning, Rice was in Jericho, where she met with PA Chairman Mahmoud Abbas and then told a joint press conference that Washington wants to intensify its efforts to renew the peace process. The Secretary said the U.S. has made clear it expects a viable, contiguous Palestinian state when it is created, and hinted that she expected Israel to ease conditions in Gaza, stressing no action should be taken now to prejudge the outcome of a final peace agreement.
Thank you also for the efforts that you've made to bring about a ceasefire. In the ceasefire that is now in effect in Gaza, and that we hope will be consolidated so that it can be extended, because we would hope in time for a comprehensive ceasefire. The United States has made clear that we expect it to be a viable and contiguous state when it is created. Secondly, that no actions that are being taken now should prejudge the outcome of a final status agreement. That means very clearly that if actions are being taken now, they will not be considered by the United States to have prejudged the outcome of final status. The third point is that we have made very clear that Israel has obligations under the roadmap, and that the obligations on settlements are clearly articulated in the roadmap.
This evening, Secretary Rice rejoins President George W. Bush in Amman, where the president held talks this morning with Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki. Bush said a so-called graceful exit of U.S. troops from Iraq was unrealistic, adding, "We'll be in Iraq until the job is complete," at the request of a sovereign government elected by the people. Asked about the Israeli-Palestinian issue, President Bush appealed for support for the PA chairman, referring to him by his commonly used name of Abu Mazen.
There's no question that if we were able to settle the Palestinian-Israeli issue, it would help bring more peace to the Middle East. And therefore, our government is focused on helping to develop the two-state solution. Matter of fact, our government strongly believes in the two-state solution, and I believe it's in the Palestinian people's interest that they have their own state, and I believe it's in Israel's interest that there be a democracy on our border, and therefore we're working to that end. Look, there are extremists who want to stop the development of a Palestinian state, just like there are extremists who want to destabilize Lebanon, and we're strongly in support of the Siniora government. Just like there are extremists who want to destabilize this young democracy. Isn't it interesting that the radicals and extremists fear democracy so much that they're willing to kill innocent people.
Egyptian intelligence chief Omar Suleiman, who met with Prime Minister Olmert and Defense Minister Peres yesterday, said he believes a prisoner swap for captured IDF soldier Gilad Shalit could be completed within 3 weeks. According to reports, the sticking point remains the number of Palestinian prisoners set to be freed in the deal. Palestinian groups are demanding that Israel free more than 1,000 prisoners in exchange for Shalit. Hamas political leader Khaled Mash'al also said Shalit will not be freed unless captured Tanzim leader Marwan Barghouti is released from Israeli prison. Meanwhile, thousands demonstrated in Europe last night for the release of the 2 IDF soldiers captured by Hezbollah. Family members of Eldad Regev and Ehud Goldwasser joined the protesters outside the EU Parliament building in Brussels. The families also lobbied European parliamentarians to pressure Hezbollah to free their loved ones.
Palestine, which was condemned to being occupied and whose recent history has been linked to Jewish settlements, continues to tell tales of its captured lands as well as stolen natural and historic resources. In the village of Wadi Fuqeen in the West Bank, the construction of the separation wall and the expansion of settlements present strong evidence of Israel's plan to inflict damage to 11 springs, which are the source of this village's survival. This situation raises questions about whether Israel is really serious about remaining committed to a process that may lead to the creation of a lasting Palestinian state in the future.
The name of the village of Wadi Fuqeen has Aramaic origins, thus making it a source of pride for its residents, whose roots go far back into history. Its ancient ruins are a testimony of this history. Nature gave it 11 unique aquifers, which always keep the surrounding lands green.
There would never have been any residents living in this area had it not been for the 11 springs, which make Wadi Fuqeen unique.
This windy separation wall, which Israel is building, and these Jewish settlements, which are expanding without limits, are threatening the old traditional life of these residents, who inherited it from their ancestors. The separation wall divides Wadi Fuqeen from surrounding Palestinian territories and provocatively closes off some of its natural aquifers, which are the pride of this village. This situation compelled the Friends of the Earth organization in Israel to request that UNESCO intervene in order to prevent damage to these sites.
It is very rare for this area to find fertile lands like the lands of the Wadi Fuqeen village. There are 11 springs like this one in the village. It is a small and unique valley. If this wall is built, then it will destroy many of these springs. We want to enable this village to maintain its traditional agricultural system.
Agriculture and sheep farming are sources of income for Palestinian residents of Wadi Fuqeen. If the Israeli separation wall is built, then it will destroy its source of irrigation and prevent residents from reaching the meadows.
They banned us from grazing on this hill and next to this settlement. We have been isolated. Someone who has 100 sheep is not able to feed them because they have to graze close to our homes.
Israel has plans for the separation wall to penetrate many kilometers deep into Wadi Fuqeen. The wall will consume lands on both sides of the structure, measuring 100 meters wide in order to construct a road alongside of it, dig trenches, and place wire fences. This situation has made it impossible for Israel to hide its intentions. What is obvious is that Israel wants to confiscate more land, but the Palestinians are resisting.
We are working on all sides in the Wadi Fuqeen. The first side is the legal side. The second side is environmental. Thirdly, the technical side. We have appraised more than 1,000 dunams in the Wadi Fuqeen area. The authority appraised a small portion of the area, and we appraised the larger part.
Amidst all this, Israel remains unburdened and continues to make life difficult for the residents of Wadi Fuqeen. Even the Jews in the nearby Histor Hadassah settlement complained, requesting that the path of the wall be changed. The Jews who came from the diaspora were also outraged by what their government is doing to nature in the valley. Despite all this, nature insists on displaying its beautiful sunset.
The violence in Iraq continues as more people are being killed and wounded. Meanwhile, dozens of bodies were found in various parts of Iraq.
The violence in Iraq has recently escalated. In the city of Samawa in southern Iraq, clashes erupted between the Mahdi militia and members of the Iraqi police, during which many people were wounded. The Iraqi security authorities announced that 79 armed men were arrested and that a booby-trapped car was disabled. A police sergeant was killed by armed fighters in Baghdad. 3 policemen were killed by a bomb explosion in the town of Jerf al-Sakr in southern Baghdad. Another face of this violence is the dead bodies, which are frequently found in the country. At least 52 bodies were found with gunshot wounds and signs of torture in various areas of Baghdad. In Bakuba, an Iraqi soldier found 28 bodies in a mass grave.
9 bodies were found in the Mahmoudiya district and they were transferred to the public Mahmoudiya hospital.
What were their identities?
They were unidentified.
In Basra, the police found the body of Deputy Director of the Sunni Waqf along with 3 of his bodyguards and 4 members of the facility's guards. They were ambushed on a road north of the city. The U.S. Army announced that one of its soldiers was killed in the Anbar province in western Iraq. Regarding the Anfal case, the Iraqi higher court listened to the testimony of an American expert regarding evidence of mass killing that was taken from the mass graves in Naina and Muthaina provinces.
عندما أناقش في هذه القضية ومثلها
When I debate this case, like others in the presence of an expert, like yourself, and refute some issues and inquire about others, that doesn't necessarily mean that the mass graves have anything to do with any person in this detention cage, including the person standing in front of you.
في هذا القفص بما في ذلك الواقف أمامكم الآن.
In his testimony, the American expert Michael Trebel accused Saddam Hussein and 6 of his associates of carrying out annihilation campaigns of about 182,000 Iraqis.
I object to the testimonies, depositions, and the expertise of all those who identify themselves as Americans in this courtroom. Thank you.
Local hospitals in the Iraqi city of Sadr are full with patients and war victims, and they are in dire need for medical equipment and medicine. Meanwhile, funeral receptions for the martyrs continue to remain open because many victims' families could not identify their bodies. Murtada Mohammed reports.
Bomb attacks in the city of Sadr have left tragedies behind, breaking the hearts of many families who lost relatives and loved ones. Since the start of the Iraqi war, on April 9, 2003, the city of Sadr held countless funeral receptions for many of its civilian residents who were killed in bomb attacks.
No one wants these massacres. No country would want these massacres either. Look at the situation we have got ourselves into.
My brother, Akram, God bless him, was martyred. He was killed in a bomb explosion. He always liked to help others.
Funeral processions for the martyrs in the city of Sadr were delayed because many families were unable to identify the victims' bodies. Meanwhile, local hospitals, which suffer shortages in medical equipment, were overwhelmed due to the large number of victims brought in. Fearing for their lives, the doctors have declined to comment on the condition in their hospitals.
My husband has been seriously wounded. He lost his hands, eyes, and an ear. He used to support 2 families. He has 2 wives and several children.
I was a taxi cab driver. I was injured and my car was damaged by an explosion.
We want the government to supply the hospitals with medicines and medical equipment. The Imam Sadr Institution is the only one helping us. God bless the Imam.
The victims in this hospital suffer from two wounds. One is physical, due to injuries sustained in bomb attacks, and the second one is mental, due to the loss of loved ones who were killed in bomb explosions. Murtada Mohammed Al-Sumariya.
Like most Iraqis, the students of Samara College started their school year burdened with many concerns. The security deterioration is having a negative impact on the general education level in the country. However, Iraqi students insist on continuing their educational path despite all the challenges that their country is facing.
Samara College begins a new school year under difficult circumstances, much like the rest of our prominent universities and colleges. Our students have gotten used to the instability and lack of security. Despite all these crises, they insist on continuing their education. While hoping that the unfolding events bring better conditions, they continue to study hard. Their professors have played a positive role by fulfilling their noble missions despite the difficult situation that surrounds them. Also playing a leading role, the university administration has greatly contributed to the students' success in completing the school year despite all obstacles.
About 350 students have been accepted this year. We have a plan in place which was approved by the university and the Ministry of Education. Each department admits 50 students. We have 5 departments. The Ministry of Education requested that the university encourage student exchange programs between competing colleges and universities by providing transportation and welcoming student visitors.
بين الكليات المتناظرة وبين الجامعات.
The persistence of these students to obtain an education shows that they highly value education. The next generation will look up to them because of their determination and steadfastness.
We like to do very well in school, despite all of the difficult living conditions. Our motto is defiance and conquering challenges until we reach a very high level of education. Nothing is as valuable as education.
These students' desire to learn made their lives more promising. They used time to advance their knowledge and empower their minds. These new students are meeting new friends. The university formed a well-coordinated welcoming committee to greet student visitors. New students will never face difficulties in finding someone to help them. Some of the student visitors came from provinces that lack good studying conditions.
We are from the Anbar province. We started our studies at Tikrit University and Samar College. God willing, we will be able to complete school this year. God willing, we will be able to continue our education. May God help us and all Muslims.
Students know that their journey for seeking education will never end because they know how much there is to learn in life.
The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. Please visit linktv.org/Mosaic for more information about these broadcasters or to view previous Mosaic programs, obtain program transcripts, or receive the weekly Mosaic Intelligence Report. Mosaic is made possible by a grant from the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. Additional support is provided by the Feyerdahl Foundation, the Otto Haas Charitable Trust, and by committed Link TV viewers like you. If you value this program, please send your tax-deductible contribution to Link TV, either through the website or the mailing address listed on your screen. This program was brought to you by Link TV, for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs which connect you to the world.